I became a social worker because I grew up in a home where my mother was constantly helping people. And so I, from very young, knew that I wanted to help people, and I knew that I loved working with children. And so I became a social worker so that I can help kids who are in difficult situations and hopefully be a positive person in their life when they may not have anyone else.
I like families that take care of me, make sure I have protection around me, and make sure I have clothes, and make sure I'm safe all the time.
You know, Monet wants a family. She lives in a place with other kids that have some similar issues, and she has sisters that she knows have been adopted, and she really is waiting for a family. So right now she wakes up, it's a very structured environment that she lives in. She wakes up, maybe have some breakfast, and then she goes to a regular education school where she spends most of the day at school. She currently receives tutoring after school. She has become proficient in math and reading, which is really exciting for her. And then she'll come home and they maybe do have a snack, and they have some quiet time. They have time where all the kids can interact together, and then they'll have dinner and maybe do sort of a bedtime routine, and then she will go to sleep.
Hello, my name is Jason Hiram Lester. I am the Adoption Training and Recruitment Supervisor with Denver Human Services. The one thing that binds us all together, regardless of race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual preference, and disability, the one thing that binds us all together is family. It's the family structure, and the family structure alone, that molds and shapes us to be the individuals that we are. Currently, there are 38 children in Denver, Colorado that need a family. In order for us to be successful here at Denver Human Services, it takes the partnerships of the community and viewers like you.
Welcome to Denver, Colorado and Denver Human Services, an agency that works hard to provide support and services to those most vulnerable in our community, and a city where Mayor Hancock says we will deliver a world-class city where everyone matters. Everyone is not only all of us that do this work every day, but those who come to live and enjoy our states. We have the Rocky Mountains for those who love those activities. We have beautiful cultural facilities, and we have sports teams that are just excellent. So welcome and thanks for being here.
It is absolutely essential that Denver Human Service builds a partnership with the community, with the neighborhoods from where these children come from with the community at large. These are not our children. Large systems like human service systems do not make good parents. We can't possibly give that relationship and that connection to every child in a way that they need it to foster healthy development. We can only do this if all of you step forward and if the community at large steps forward and says, we're going to make a difference.
My goal for adoption in Colorado is that we don't need to have the program anymore. That every child either stays home or is taken care of by their family so they never have to be in the court process. They're taken care of before they ever come to our system.
You got to have that desire to help a child who doesn't know what a healthy family looks like. A child that doesn't know what appropriate love, appropriate parenting looks like, what it feels to grow up in an environment that nourishes their development.
I think one of the biggest things and one of the biggest myths, particularly when you talk about children in care and you talk about adolescents, people will say, oh, I don't want an adolescent because they have so much baggage. And the reality of it is that our children in foster care have a lot of the same baggage regular kids do. And that when they are home and there is somebody there for them in their corner that will back them and support them, it's unbelievable what these kids do, how they bloom, how they show their potential.
You know, a lot of people look at these kids that are in the system and they see anger and they kind of view these kids as bad kids and, oh, I don't want a troubled kid. But you have to put yourself in their situation, you know, because I was one of those troubled kids that had a lot of anger built up. But it was from the abuse, it was from the neglect, it was from feeling unwanted and feeling alone, like no one had your back and there was no one there for you. And so I definitely think that, you know, when you see a kid that, you know, looks angry and they look upset, if you take the time to talk to them, to listen to them, you will really learn, you know, and that kid will start to open up and start to build that trust with you, and you'll learn that this is a good kid.
I think it's really important for families to understand that kids who are part of our system, they have had different life experiences, and that it's really important for families to not expect these kids to change overnight, to not expect them to have instant relationships, but to be patient and to figure out the things within themselves that need to change in order to take these kids into their home. And what I hear more times than not from Monet and from other kids that I work with is that they just want someone that's going to love them no matter what.
Foster care is not something that you start and you stop. I'm a true believer. If you're going to be in it, you have to be in it all the way. You know, you can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So yes, you know, sometimes there are some issues because, you know, I like to be real. There are behavior issues, but that's with any children.
You could look at any kid, any kid, and they get in trouble every now and then. Like my mom said earlier, that every kid has their good and bad days. It's normal. Without that, it wouldn't be natural. So just being in foster care, it has a little effect on it, but all everyone's looking for in foster care is for that love of that family to be able to act right around. But when that's when they're not getting that, it affects it. I've been in foster care, and there was this one girl, she was older than me and my brother. She would just hit on us all the time, and the guy, he wouldn't do anything about it. So of course we would act up whenever he'd ask us to do something. Of course we'd say no. We'd think, why would we do that when you're going to sit there and let your daughter hit on us and not intervene or any of that? So of course, but yeah, and like I said, every kid is looking for the opportunity. Just because I was in foster care, I've been told multiple times over my life, I'm going to be something. They see great potential in me. And I'm in foster care and I'm doing a pretty good job as I am right now. So just because a kid is in foster care, it does not mean he's going to act up, because every kid acts up.
Yeah, Denver has been a long-standing cultural pillar in the Hispanic community. We have a wide, diverse range of Hispanic, Latino population here, from fifth generation Chicanos to recently arrived immigrants from all over Latin America. And the population here in Denver is growing, as it is in the entire nation. The statistics say that by 2050 the Hispanic population is going to be it's going to be growing exponentially. So what that says to me is that folks that are interested in becoming foster parents, our foster parent pool, the folks that we have, should represent the general population that we serve.
La cultura tiene una influencia increíble en la forma de vivir, y eso implica la comida, el vestido, el lenguaje. Así que entiendo que es un momento muy difícil para los niños desprenderse de sus familias biológicas para entrar a un proceso de estrés, de un cansancio, y además de eso, llegar a una familia que culturalmente es diferente. Yo personalmente le doy gracias a Dios que haya esas familias que quieran cuidar a los niños. Gracias a Dios, gracias a estas familias que abren sus corazones, sus mentes, todo su ser. Sin embargo, necesitamos que nuestra comunidad también tome responsabilidad de lo que le está pasando a nuestros niños. Y al mismo tiempo que seamos responsables de cómo nos conducimos hacia adentro de nuestras familias. Así que no solo es la cuestión cultural, sino cómo vivimos nuestra realidad como comunidad y al mismo tiempo yo como familia, cómo cuido, cómo aprendo a cuidar de mí mismo, de mis hijos, de la gente que está a mi alrededor.
I think it is paramount that Latino families step forward and become foster families for children of color, and specifically for Latino. And I'm talking about African American families, for African American children, because it is so important to have cultural representation, especially for young people. You know, I came from a high school that was all Chicano, and with that, it imparted upon me self-confidence, self-determination, discipline, and a real sense of history and self that helps me, overcome, circumvent, knock down barriers, and gives me the confidence that I can look you in the eye and tell you who I am, where I come from, and where I'm going. And I think that's important. That's an important piece of Latino families stepping forward to provide that role model, that cultural representation, and that love for our young people, so they don't lose their sense of identity, or they can acquire a sense of identity and true self-worth.
It's important for a black child to grow up in a home that knows about their culture, so that they can instill in them values and instill into them traditions and help them to understand their worth. The black family, as it was constituted, has all that's necessary to give children a good worldview and a positive perspective toward themselves and life, especially when you have the mother and father and links to the grandparents and uncles and aunts and other family members. See, family is more than just the ones that are in one house. It's a connective continuum that gives support, not just in this generation, but to the generation as they come.
I would say that we come from a family of the village, and we can't continue to say that it takes a village if we're not being part of the village. I mean, it takes the village. This is the village. This is the new taking care of our own. Foster care and adoption is the village that our families need, that would keep us with the unity that blacks always had. But now it's an opportunity for us to do it in a whole new way, in what we call the 21st century or whatever. Foster and adoption is critical. So if we're going to say that it takes a village, we are examples of what the village do. When we look back at our kids, and from over 10 years now that we've been in this, we stepped out of what we call each his own thing to the village setting, and we want everyone else to know that the village still works, but maybe you have to go through foster and adoption to do it, but it do work.
I would say that we as a people, we've always taken care of our own, and so even back in the day when there was a parent that was not able to parent their kid, they were usually given to someone in the family so that they would stay within the family structure, and they would learn the culture of their people rather than being sent other places.
So it's very important for kids to be placed in homes that understand their cultural background. Culture is a foundation of who we are as people. So for youth, especially youth of color, it's very important that they have access to participate in and celebrate where they come from. And it's my opinion that kids who have access to their culture and practicing those traditions or ways or whatever it may be, food, holidays, those types of things really help form children, and I believe it's a very important step in their growth as human beings.
Kinship is viewed as anyone who has an established relationship with the child or the family. So that can be a pastor, it can be a teacher, it can be a coach. So it's anyone who has a relationship with that family or that the child or family identifies as having a relationship with their family. So in the past we've had a teenager pick a next door neighbor that they viewed as an aunt or a grandma, someone that they had a good relationship with and felt that cared about them. And so they actually told their worker, this is the person I would like to be with. And that child was placed with that person. And when we find out that there's a kinship family or a child has been placed with a kinship family, be that blood or psychological, I get a kinship support worker involved right away. And so within 24 to 48 hours, we're calling that kinship provider. We're trying to determine their needs. How can we support immediately? We have a lot of families who people don't always understand. You wake up one morning and you have a knock on your door. We have Johnny at the door who needs a placement, or we're calling. And so we're asking for a placement right away. And many times those kids come and they have nothing.
Training to become a resource family involves 27 hours of in-session, in-classroom training. Training focuses on everything from how you as a resource family works with the department. In the court, it talks about the court system, it talks about abandonment, attachment, loss, and grief. We focus on disciplining the type of children that we have in our system. We talk about keeping families together, strengthening families. And also we talk about being permanent connections for children. And what that means is whether you're here to do foster care, foster to adopt, or straight adoption, you can always be a permanent connection for a child in the foster care system. Being a resource family is all about intrinsic rewards. It's all about getting that value of helping a child in need to grow and to develop and become a contributing member to society. It's all about those moments where you have that foster child when they're adults and it's Christmas, or they're coming back from winter break in college and they come to your home. It's all about those moments where your former children in the foster care system grows up and they begin to have kids of their own, and they bring them to your house for birthdays and holidays, and you're called grandma and grandpa for their children. Those are the moments, those are the times that you are going to feel rewarded the most working with our children.
When we first got the boys, first we did a meeting with the boys, what they call an adoption party. And so then, a foster and adoptive party. And so we met the boys that way. And so after then we started interacting, with the boys on a weekend basis. And so then we actually, right before Christmas, we had the boys move in with us.
It fills your soul to know that you can wake up and have to say, good morning, Mom and Dad. Good morning, Michelle, which is my sister, or Buck, which is my brother. And it makes you feel a lot better to know that you can do that. You can say, good night, Mom and Dad, love you. That you have a mom and dad to say good night, love you too.
For me as a father, man, I truly, you think that, as a man, we always think I can raise my own. Is it enough for me to raise 2 more kids and bring on kids? It just broadened me, my thought pattern as a not just as a father figure, but as a parent, bringing them on to pour inside them. It was an opportunity that helped me to be the man I am today. It was so amazing how they poured into me and taught me that you can be this man. And I think that we have to, if we're gonna help others like we want to see others do, I think it's critical that the father figure, the male model of the house, understand that he has so much to give when he think he don't.
My emotions and feelings, you know, for the first time actually moving in here, we were visiting every week, I think, like every Saturdays on the weekends on a basis. You know, so when we finally moved in, it was a relief. Like, weight was taken off my shoulders. It was a couple days before Christmas. So my feelings were joy, you know, wondrous, like, because the presents and all that. And then my emotions were having a family to rely on and know that you can trust her on the holidays and they're there for you to love them.
So I remember it was in the old house, but it was only a 3-bedroom house as we moved in a couple of weeks before Christmas. And then my mom and dad had made me a promise, me and Deshaun, that they're gonna buy a new house because so we could all have our own room. And I mean, in being in foster care, there's a lot of promises made, but it's the ones that are kept that matters. And not a lot of them were kept, but that promise was kept. I mean, and when I walked into the house for the first time, I was like, wow. And I went upstairs, I was like, Dad, can I have this sink all to myself? He was like, yep. And I mean, it was just that promise. It was made and it was fulfilled. I mean, and that was my Christmas present right there.
My hopes and dreams for the 38 children that we have waiting for a forever family is that wait stops with anybody looking at this video. That will be over immediately for them because somebody is going to stand up for them. I want for them to have, wherever appropriate, connections with their family, members of their family, people that they have developed relationships with. I want them to have a family. If at all possible, I want them to have a mom or a dad or two moms, a mom and a dad.
Our family comes from all walks of life. Our family is everyday, regular people just like myself. We work with same-sex couples, we work with single parents, we work with older parents, younger parents, we work with grandmothers, we work with aunts, uncles. Anybody who has that desire, anybody who is willing to step up and stand up for these kids that we have in our system, are the families that we look for and that we want to work with.
I've been working with Chad and Michael since Sophie was a little baby. So she's a little over a year now, so it's been quite a while.
Adopting Sophie is really the beginning of our family. And we've been together 7 years, and this is like the next piece of our puzzle.
I'm happy that Denver Human Services is inclusive of LGBT families because my experience, and I've worked with quite a few, is that for the most part they're very easy to work with. They're very family oriented. They care about kids the same way everybody else does. They want to have children in their life. They're no different than straight couples in that regard. And Chad and Michael are the same way. They just had a wonderful relationship between the two of them and wanted to have children in their life.
I think one thing, especially in the LGBT community, is that, I don't know if, honestly, years ago I never thought I would. I always wanted to be a dad, but I didn't think I would ever have the opportunity. And it means the world to me to be able to pass on my knowledge and my love and everything that is me onto somebody else. And not only that I shared my life with Michael, but to be able to share it with this first child is something you can't even describe.
One thing I really learned, it was really a transformation in me, and it took working with gay couples, is that they are as good as anybody else, they're as loving as anyone else. They come from families that are supportive of them, and it's changed my mind completely about, a lot of people feel that gay couples can't give kids what they need, and I totally disagree with that. And I'm proof of that as far as my beliefs, because I'm just been so pleased with the families that we've gotten and the love and the care they've taken for kids.
I think there's no difference. Love is love. Same sex, mom, dad, mom and dad. I think every child has the opportunity to have a wonderful life, and all it takes is love and discipline. love and structure, actually. That's the word I was looking for. I don't care if it's 2 moms, 2 dads, but here in Denver County, one thing I really liked about the county was that they are the only county, I believe, in Colorado that offers same-sex adoption and foster, or that did. I know that when we first joined, but again, whether it's a mom or dad, I think that all you need in a family is love.
My call to action is, if you love children and you want to help children, then consider joining us in this important work and serving as a foster family, providing a temporary home for kids in an unfortunate situation, helping us as we help kids and families become whole and become strong.
The message I want to leave is I hope that in the information that we have shared with you, you will stop right now and take a stand for our kids. You have many opportunities to stand up for these children. You could be a friend, you could be a mentor, you could be a foster parent, you could be a forever family for a child who needs the connections and the family experience that has brought you to where you are today. If you have room in your heart, you have room in your home, you have room in your busy schedules, you have room in your life, take a stand. Stand up for the children in Denver.
The call to action I would make to the community is, I remember the time, because I grew up in Colorado, where families came together, communities came together to support kids and families. And so I would make the call to action to be that the community come back together to support our kids. We have a lot of good, loving kids that have experienced some very horrific things that need that support of their family and their community to just survive. And to make it through. It is not acceptable for our children to have 20 different placements in their lifetime, and we want to find forever homes for them, be that an adoptive home, be that a foster home, be that a kinship home. And just to know that the department is here and that we are really making a diligent effort to place kids with family and to find those homes that can support our children.
If you have the capability to love and nurture a child, there is no reason whatsoever that you can't start the process with Denver Human Services. And Denver Human Services will see you through all the way, every step. They'll hold your hand, guide you, and take you and give you every training, teaching thing that you need to be successful.
You know, we have kids of all ages that need homes. Recently, I was part of an adoption with 2 teenage boys, and teenagers need a permanent home too. Every child needs a home that as they grow up they can feel part of and be able to turn to when they need help or support or love. So it's 0 to 18 and beyond that we need homes for. So don't worry about, thinking that, this is not the right time for you, or maybe, there's just, today is not the right time for everyone that can be a foster adoptive parent. Maybe after your children grow up, your own children grow up, or maybe after some things get different in your life, but we'll take you 5 years from now, we'll take you 10 years from now, we'll take you whenever you feel is the right time to parent a child that really, really needs a home. So even if you see, you're thinking about it, keep thinking about it, because it may well be the right time very soon.
There are many youth in Denver who need a permanent connection. Kids of color in particular need people who relate to them and who understand where they're coming from. They understand their cultural considerations that are oh so important. And I want to thank you for taking your time to inquire more about how you may be able to serve as a long-term connection. And the conversation really starts with you deciding, what you can do as one person or as a family. But also, it requires you to reach out to your community and your direct surroundings and have conversations about how you and your community can help serve some of these kids that really need long-term permanence. So I look forward to maybe working with you at some point, and appreciate your time, and the youth of Denver also appreciate that.